we talked about, see, just one second. Tawheedi model, we talked about the three indices, Allah, universe, and man. And we talked about that the universe is to be subjugated and man has free will. And we talked about the three relationship. God created both. The relationship between Allah and man is based on 5 principles. The principle of istikhlaf, of takreem, of amana, of ibtila, and of ibadah. I'll just say a word or two about each one. The istikhlaf is where it could be translated roughly as being those who can represent God's will on earth. Someone who is sometimes referred to as vice-regent. But this is, in many ayat, we read that those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen to represent that divine will, that's the first thing, which is basically the assignment. That's the first principle, is that God has wanted to make man in his present format, which is son, which is Adam and his offsprings, to be those who have been given that assignment to become the representative of God's will on earth. Second is takreem, they have been honored. And we again, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, Allah honored, and that honor comes in the form of free will, of the use of the mind. And then we have the amana, which again, al-amana means responsibility in this context. إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ إِلَى نِهَايَةِ الآية, to the rest of the ayah. But that means that there is a trust, there is an amana, there is responsibility that has been given because of that takreem, of that free will, of that intellect that God gave man. Then with that would come a responsibility. And then the fourth one is al-ibtila, that this life is not the end in of itself. This life is only a phase of people's living, and therefore life would just become a series of tests to see whether that proclamation, that pledge that a person is actually adhering to God's commandments, to God's instructions, to God's divine will, that would be tested. That was not going to be just simply a proclamation. And these tests would be different from person to person, but eventually it will come to a test in different forms, and whether people pass it or fail it, it's going to depend on the choices they make. But in order to help them to achieve that, there's the fifth principle, which is the principle of ibadah or worship. And in this essence, all kinds of worship is not just the rituals, because this concept of ibadah is encompassing all actions that a person would do. But God also did not leave that person astray. He gave them all kinds of ways by which they can actually learn how to pass the tests, and also how to become closer to him through these rituals.